Welcome back to Ferris Tutorial. Cape Tourism Unit 1. In today's episode, we're looking at past paper question for the exam year 2017, and we're focusing on question 1. It reads, list 3 components of the tourism system. 3 marks. List the official organization responsible for tourism regionally and internationally, and that is worth 2 marks. Outline 2 roles that the Caribbean Tourism Organization executes on behalf of its members, 4 marks. Explain 2 factors in the generating region that can negatively impact the demand for travel to the Caribbean, and that is worth 6 marks. Now let's take it in details. List 3 components of LIPER's tourism system. Any of these 3 listed, you will be awarded your mark. So we have tourist generating region, tourist transit route or way, the tourist destination region, and also travel and tourism industry. Now, sometimes a question may ask you to state in which you're expected to give a brief description of each component, but in this case, it's just required for you to just list any 3 components, right? Next question, list the official organization responsible for tourism at the regional level and the international level. And at the international level, there's United Nations World Tourism Organization, and at the regional level there is Caribbean Tourism Organization, right? So CTO for regional level and UNWTO for international level. And please make sure that you don't just write the acronym, but you also write the meaning, right? The meaning of the acronym. Next part. Outline 2 roles that the Caribbean Tourism Organization executes on behalf of its members, and this part of the question is worth 4 marks. So identify 1 role and stating or elaborating what this role means. You'll get 2 marks each for each response, right? Now we're going to look at some roles here. So the first one is marketing. Now the Caribbean Tourism Organization is responsible for marketing the Caribbean as one region and for pinpointing opportunities to increase tourism flows. Another role is market research intelligence. Now, part of the function of the CTO is providing current statistics for its member states. The statistical data pertains to arrival figures and tourist spending by months and years. Another role is advocacy. Now, the CTO also advocates for its members in areas related to transportation and taxation policies that affect them. The CTO, through its Council of Ministers, makes representation to various governments so that policy decisions that negatively impact its members can be reconsidered. Now, for example, when the UK government increased the airline passenger duty, right? Next role, human resource development. Now, part of the mandate of CTO, which stands for Caribbean Tourism Organization, is to offer training and development courses for the region's people. They have therefore been instrumental in developing a common curriculum for the community colleges in the region, offering scholarships through the CTO and certification programs such as Hospitality Assured to the accommodation sector. All right, now let's move on to the next part of this question. It says, explain 2 factors in the generating region that can negatively impact the demand for travel to the Caribbean, right? And this is worth 6 marks. Now, the generating region is where the tourist comes from, right? So that is where they will leave their home, their normal domicile, and may travel. So where the tourist comes from is labeled as the generating region, right? So what is it that can happen in their country that prevent them from traveling. Just as how we have issues that affect tourism in the Caribbean, such as crime and violence, epidemic and health risk, overuse of natural resources, etc. There are also problems in the generating region that may prevent them from negatively impact them, right, and affect the demand of travel to the Caribbean. Now, let us look at some of these factors. The first one being income. Any change in the disposable and discretionary income of tourists in source markets such as UK, USA, Canada, or China as a consequence of job loss or maybe reduced working hours would mean that travel to long haul destinations such as the Caribbean would be significantly reduced. For example, during the global economic crisis, some Caribbean destinations experienced a significant reduction in arrivals from the USA and the UK because of the high levels of unemployment during that period, right? Next factor, annual allowance for leave. If tourists from the generating region are unable to secure paid holiday periods in which they are compensated for the days they are out of office, this can be a major deterrent to their plans to travel to areas such as the Caribbean region, which may be distant and require them to apply for several days of leave. Next factor, government policy. Now, changes in government policy can affect demand for travel to the Caribbean. For example, the UK government increased the airline passenger duty, which required UK travelers to pay increased tax on the purchase of their tickets. This meant that it became more expensive to travel to the Caribbean than to other destinations. Another factor is disasters. Now, natural disasters such as hurricanes, volcanic eruptions, and extreme weather can negatively affect travel mobility in the source country. Many airlines issue change of schedules or cancellations due to poor weather conditions. For example, the volcano eruption in Iceland resulted in the grounding of flights at the airports in that country. Similarly, when Hurricane Katrina devastated New Orleans, airlift out of the state was postponed for a few days. Good. Another factor is incidences of political instability or, unfortunately, war, right? Now, these can negatively impact travel from the generated region. Citizens and residents of such geographical areas may be unable to travel and exit their country due to internal restrictions at their borders of entry and exit, right? And our final factor that we're looking at is health epidemics. Now, health epidemics such as Ebola, SARS, chikungunya, H1N1, which is the swine flu, foot and mouth disease, or even COVID-19 have all negatively impacted travel to and from the affected countries. This is because many of these diseases were highly contagious, so that confining mobility was one way to manage the spread. In the case of chikungunya, the United Kingdom government issued a health advisory to its citizens about travel to the Caribbean. And recently, too, with the breakout of COVID-19 coronavirus, which started off in China, travel advisories were also made for the Caribbean because of how badly the disease spread and affected persons in the Caribbean as well, right? So you are required to explain two factors. You have a couple that you may choose from, right? And remember, this question asks for factors in the generating region that negatively impact the demand for travel to the Caribbean, right? So these are the factors that affect the persons who are coming from the source countries. And when we speak of the source countries, guys, we're speaking where they're coming from. Now, issues that affect the Caribbean, which is the destination region we spoke of already, like crime and violence, natural disasters, epidemic and health risk, health and disaster management, etc. Right? Now, that is it for this question. I wish you all the best for your exam. You got this, and good luck. Awesome. You've made it to the end of the session. Please remember to subscribe, turn on your post notification bells so you can be notified when there's another upload. Most importantly, share with persons who you know will find this information useful. Thank you for making it Fair's Tutorial.